All right. Any questions, please let me know if you want further clarification on it. All right, let's move on to 57. I need to search a 50-page document for the acronym IT and insert the words information technology in its place. Which of the following is the most efficient method for accomplishing this task? So what's the answer for 57? What did you all have for 57? Okay. So the first thing when you see keywords like most efficient or most appropriate action or most appropriate answer, that would mean that multiple answers may be applicable, right? But you need to select the one that is most applicable, right? So in this instance, what you want to do is you want to go through a document and replace IT with information technology. And the most efficient one for that will be the find and replace option. Okay, so the answer is A, find and replace. All right, 58. Which of the following must be considered when creating a website? What's the answer for this one? Right, so in creating a website, the options we have: the intended audience, the artistic design of the whole website, and the layout of the pages in the website. The answer for this question is D. All three of these things need to be considered when creating a website. All right, let's move on to 59. Which of the following is normally used for website to website connection? Okay. So the answer for that is D, hyperlink. And 60, the last multiple choice. Which of the following PowerPoint presentation icons represent the slide sorter? Right. The answer for this is B. Okay.
B, sir.
Yes, B. Any questions on these or any other questions on the multiple choice? If not, let us continue with the rest of the question. You're supposed to do number 11 in the paper too, right? So first thing, consider the program. Yeah, Musa.
The answer in this in class right now, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
All right. So you're supposed to look at the table below with the programming code. And the first part of the question, state the programming generation language used in example 2.
Binary, sir.
Right. So it is binary code, but the generation itself. When it's talk about generation, there are 4 generations in programming language. And that generation would be the first generation because it is binary ones and zeros. It's like the lowest level you could go. All right. Now they say write the generic name for the programming language illustrated in example 1 and example 2. So the programming languages have names by which you refer to them, generic names. And what is the name referred to example 1 and example 2? example 1. Anyone did the homework? Anybody want to give it a try? All right. So example 1 is referred to as assembly language, and example 2 is machine language. Right? Machine language because it is the language in which the computers understand directly, the ones and zeros. And assembly language where it has some symbols, some letters. There's something like short words that represent an operation. Let's move on to C. You need to answer the questions in part C based on the code using example 1. So you have a string of, well, you have some code to be executed, and you need to identify the error in the code. What was the error in this code?
So text is the error, sir.
Text. Right, now if we go back up, right, you have ACC, DIS, NUM, and TEX. So going through the code now, yeah, DISP, right? This should have been DIS. So that's the first thing. So you just did DISP. The error, correct the error by stating the code that should be used. We kind of answered that already. The answer is DIS. Now, state the technical term for each of the following. What is the technical term for the original programming code? Correct, yes. Source code, right? That's what you call original programming code. So that is the code that you will write or type, okay? That's source code. What do you refer to as locating errors in a program? Correct, right? Debugging. No, I'm saying correct because some students are messaging me the answers. And what I recommend is if you want to answer, you could do it one or two ways. One, you could unmute your microphone and let me know the answer. Or two,
now all of them might work in.
Right. So the second thing is, right, you could message me, but it's important to have the session interactive and for you all to try the answers at least. So please, one out of the two ways, let me know what answer you all have so I ensure everybody is following. And of course, any questions on how we got the answer or if it is you're not clear on it, let me know and we could review. Okay, let's move on. The type of error, right? So state the technical term for the type of error found in the code given in part C. So I'm gonna go back to part C. And what do you call this type of error? Very good, yes. Syntax error, right? Somebody messaged that in. Okay, what's the technical term for the conversion to the code in example 2? Right, so example 2, you're going to convert code into these binary digits. And what you call that is compiling, right? When you compile, that's what you do. You convert your source code into what they call the machine language code there. Next part of the question, part 4. Rewrite the code in C using the instruction column in the table on page 22. So I'm very interested to see what persons would have done for this question. So please type in the chat your answer for part 4. All right, so I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to type it in. A couple of words. All right, correct. Yeah, answer came in, and that's correct. We're going to see if someone else can answer. Okay, I'm not seeing any other answers coming in. So the answer is accept number, accept text, display number. All right, what you had to do is look at these short codes there, referring to the example 1 column, and use the words in the instruction column. So, so ACC is accept, NUM is number, so the first would be accept number, then ACC, we just did that, accept, TEX is text, so the second is accept text, and the third command is DISP, which as we said should be DIS, which is display, and NUM is number, right? So that's why you get accept number, accept text, and display number. And the last part to the question, the corrected code was executed, right? The output when the following data were entered by the user. So if the user entered this, what would have been output by the program? Right, an answer came in, that's correct. We're waiting to see if anyone else is going to attempt this. All right, the answer is 56. Okay, remember we said the code translated to accept number, accept text, and display number. So it would have accepted the number, which is 56. It would have accepted the text, which is passed, and then it would have displayed number. And the number is 56. So the answer for this is 56. Okay, so that's it for the homework. Any questions based on the homework or the answers?
Also,
Oh, all right. Okay, so let's move on. You all, today we're going to do June 2016 paper 1. And those of you, well, all of you are interested in that. You can access this on the Google Drive, right? It's there, so you could follow along on Google Drive. Okay, so June 2016 paper 1. So let's begin. As we generally do, we're going to go through the questions together. I'll give students some time to send in their answers. Remember, when you're sending in your answer, please put the number of the question, and you put like a dash or comma or something, and then the answer, right? So if the answer for number 3 is D, 3-D. So I know which question you're sending in answer for. All right. So keyboards, speakers, and CD drives are what? What of the option? Yeah, peripheral, storage, output or input devices. Okay, I see some answers coming in there. That's correct. Now, a keyboard by itself is an input device, right? A speaker by itself is an output device, and a CD drive that could be considered a storage device, or maybe an output device that has storage devices. All of these are generally called peripheral devices. If you remember, peripheral device is a device that is connected to and controlled by the computer. Okay, let's move on. Scanning an item at a computerized checkout station in a supermarket is an example of what? You have input, output, storing, and processing.
Input, sir. A.
Yes, so the answer is input. Remember when you scan an item at a checkout station in a supermarket, what you're actually doing is you're inputting the barcode of the device into the point of sale system, right? So instead of entering what item it is manually, scanning the barcode would do that. The answer again for number 2 is A. All right, number 3, the arithmetic or logic unit is part of what? CU, ROM, CPU, or RAM?
A. Control unit.
I see some answers coming in there. It's correct. So remember, the CPU or central processing unit comprised of 2 parts: the CU, control unit, and the ALE. So the answer is C, CPU. The CU is one of the parts of the CPU. All right. As mentioned before, number 4 will not be applicable to you all for the exam. But does anyone know the answer for number 4, the binary equivalent to 7?
Sorry, B.
B. Well, B is 5, right? 7 is D. 1, 1, 1, 3, 1. But as I said, that's not going to be in your exam. Okay, let's move on. Number 5, which of the following is most suitable for printing building plans?
A. A plotter.
Right, so you have plotter, laser printer, dot matrix printer, and thermal transfer printer. This question is familiar. We went through it last week, and the answer is A. Plotter. Right? All right, good. Let's move on to number 6. What type of management occurs when the operating system undertakes communication between a printer and the system unit? Yeah, file, process, memory, or input, output.
B, sir. Process.
Right. Any other answers? Only really getting responses from one student on the mic.
No, sir. D. Input, output.
Okay, someone in the chat responded. Anybody else? All right, so the answer for this is D, input output, right? What happens, remember the printer is an output device, and the operating system will send the data or information from what is input or what is on the computer to the printer. So the answer is D. All right, let's move on. Which of the following has the largest storage capacity? Right, so we have 4 options there. We have the optical drive, USB flash drive, flash memory card, and a hard drive. Out of these, which has the largest capacity? Okay, I see some answers coming in the chat. Yeah, number 6 was D. Right, yes. Okay, so the answer for number 7 is D, the hard drive. In terms of storage capacity, the hard drive will store more data or has the capacity to store more data than the other 3, right? Optical, USB, and flash. The USB flash drive and flash memory card are about the same category, right? Those are what you would probably say are more portable storage devices. The optical one is also portable. But out of the four, the hard drive stores the most, right? Okay. Question number 8. Which of the following primary storage devices can be programmed only once?
B, sir.
Right, so we have an answer coming in for B. Some answers coming in. All right. So what you need to pay attention to in this question is the device can be programmed only once. Okay. Now we all know about RAM, random access memory, and that is, first of all, it's volatile, and data could move in and out of that, right? Then you have PROM, EPROM, and EEPROM. Now, the first, or part B, PROM is programmable read-only memory. This is where you have a ROM device or a read-only memory device, and you could program that device. However, once it's programmed, that cannot be erased, or it cannot be reprogrammed again. So the answer for the question is B. Right? The erasable programmable read-only memory, that device could be programmed again. Okay, that's number 8. Number 9, the time taken.
Sir,
Yes.
what is the meaning of EEPROM?
Erasable programmable running memory. Oh, sorry, mic was off. Yeah. EEPROM is electronic erasable programmable read-only memory. So erasable has some electrical form. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Right. So that is 8. Now let's move on to 9. Okay. 9. The time taken by the read-write head to locate and transfer data is termed what? What do you refer to as the time taken by the read-write head to locate and transfer the data?
B, sir. Access.
Right. Now, the context in which this question is being asked, remember, you have data located on a sector, which is within a track of a disk. And then you have a read-write head, which is a device that has to be, or has to go over the sector in which data is stored in order to perform some action on the data. Well, what they want to know is, given that the head is located in some part of the disk, the time, which is if you need to access data in another sector, what that time is referred to as moving the head to that sector. Okay, so you have rotation seek time, which is the time to find the sector the data is in. Then you have transfer time, which is the time to transfer the data from the sector, and rotational time is the time to rotate the disk. These three, when added together, is actually called access time. So the entire process is generally referred to access time, and the answer is B. Okay. Now, number 10. To use a program stored on a flash drive, it must be transferred into what?
Sir. B.
Yes. B. Wrong. Right. So the answer for this is, I see some answers coming in also. The answer for this is A, RAM. Remember, in ROM, okay, in ROM, it is read-only memory. RAM, that is the primary memory. When it is a program or you need to load a program, it is normally transferred into ROM where it runs and in order for you to interact with it. For example, take let's consider you're using Microsoft Word on your computer. What will happen is the program would load into RAM while you're using it. So while you're using Microsoft Word, while you're typing your documents, etc., it's running on the RAM. That's why, generally speaking, that's why if it is you're typing a Word document and the electricity goes or you lose power to your computer, the document will not be saved. Right? So the answer for that is RAM. All right, let's move to number 11. A diskette is divided into a number of concentric circles called tracks, sectors, clusters, or cylinders.
B, sir, sectors.
All right, we have one answer coming for sectors. Any other answers? I see some coming in on the chat. Now remember, the concentric circles of the disk is called a track. And part of that track is called a sector. Okay, multiple sectors referred to as a cluster, and if you have multiple disks, that's a cylinder. The answer for number 11 is A, a track. Okay, let's move on to number 12. Which of the following user interfaces or devices is best suited for a visually impaired person?
C, sir.
Right. So look, we have this keyword again, right? And they normally have it in all caps. Best suited. So when you see that, reading the answers now, more than one answer may be applicable, right? So it's for a visually impaired person. Touchscreen, no, that's incorrect. Menu driven, right? That's also, that doesn't sound correct. Braille keyboard, yes. Command driven, no, that doesn't sound like it's going to work. So the answer for 12 is C, right? Braille keyboard. 13. Laser beam technology is used by which one of these devices? You have a floppy disk, optical disk, magnetic disk, and magnetic tape. The answer coming in there. Okay, so laser beam technology is used by optical devices, right? That's like your CDs and DVDs. That's how you know, a lot of persons talk about, you know, they're gonna burn the disk, right? Use laser beam technology. All right, number 14. Which of the following prefixes relate to the bytes? Will relate to the bytes arranged from smallest to largest. The other answer coming as what?
Sorry, C.
C. So one person said C, another person said
C.
C. Right. So remember, kilobytes, yes, then megabytes, gigabytes, and terabytes. So the answer is C. One thing to pay attention is the order they are asking. So in this question, they are asking from smallest to largest, but the question could also be asked in the other way, largest to smallest. So ensure when reading the question, you read it clearly. Okay, 15. Which of the following provides transmission of data in both directions at the same time?
B, sir, full duplex.
Yeah, B, sir.
Right? Yes, B. So what they did, they highlighted both directions, right? For me, what actually is more important is at the same time, because as we all know, well, first of all, simplex is one direction at a time, right? We always draw the analogy of the one-way road, right? Where traffic flows in one direction at a time. Then you have half duplex, where data is transmitted in both directions, but one direction at a time. That's half duplex, right? And full duplex is both directions at the same time. So again, the answer for 15 is B. All right, let's move on to 16. In the URL, http://www.shoes.com. Shoes.com represents what? The internet company, the company name, the domain name, or the extension?
C, sir, domain name.
Right, that's correct. Okay, the domain name, shoes.com represents the domain name. Now, it may be possible, and you all may have noticed that sometimes the domain name is the same as the company name, right? But in terms of the URL or the Uniform Resource Locator, that portion of it refers, or that is referred to as the domain name, not necessarily company name. Okay, moving on to 17. Programs that duplicate the knowledge and diagnostic skills displayed by humans performing specialized tasks are referred to as expert virtual engineering or knowledge system. Any suggestions for this question? Now, what this question is asking?
So A.
Okay, so yeah,
Versus.
systems, right? So, what this question is asking for, it is a system that is created, but it utilizes the knowledge from persons who have some sort of competence in the field, right? And what you call that is an expert system. So an expert system is a system or device or software solution that would be programmed on how to operate by persons who are generally experts or persons who know a lot in the field. All right. Virtual system, when you speak of a virtual system, you're referring to a system that simulates the real world. Okay. A knowledge system would be a system where you have a lot of information for searching and learning. All right. So the answer for 17 is 8. All right. Let's move on to 18. The use of information and communications technology, or ICT, to conduct meetings at different locations is called what?
A, sir.
Right, so we have teleconferencing, telecommuting, telemarketing, and telephony. Now, how this question is asked, they want to know how do you refer to as using ICT to conduct meetings in different places? And the answer for that is E, right? Don't get this mixed up with telecommuting, which is working from a remote location or working from home. Right? Answer for 18 is E. All right, 19. Transferring data from a remote computer to your computer is referred to as what? Okay. So what you're looking at here is you have
A, sir, upload them.
okay, so I see some answering chat, there's some persons answering on the meeting. So what we're looking at here is you have data on the internet somewhere, and right, so we have some data. You can think about like a document or a file, and it's stored on a remote computer somewhere, and you're going to use your computer to get that data. So think about that as you have probably a file on the on a Google Drive, which is a remote computer, and then you're going to get it on your computer. What you're actually doing is you're downloading, right? So the answer for anything is C. Uploading is when you're putting a file from your computer to a remote computer. So if you're adding a document to the Google Drive or to your OneDrive or Dropbox, you will refer to that as uploading. All right, so the answer, again, the answer for 19 is C, downloading. All right, 20. Scrambling of messages before sending is called what?
B, sir, encryption.
Right, yes. So scrambling, when I say scrambling of messages, basically that means the message will be converted to a format that's not easy to interpret to understand, right? So you would call that encryption, right? The process of encryption. Okay, let's move on to 21. Telecommuting can be best described as what? So now we're going to talk about telecommuting. And notice again, they have capitalized best. So show these answers best describe telecommuting.
C, sir, working from home by connecting home and office.
Okay, so we have some options, right? Using a computer while commuting. No, that's not correct at all. Using a telephone while commuting. That again is not correct. Working from home by connecting home and office. Yes, that seems to be a suitable answer. Working from the office after establishing a connection at home. That doesn't sound too clear. So the answer is C. Okay. Another good practice is when you all are answering multiple choice questions, and let's just say the answer is A, or you read the first option, and that seems to be correct. Continue to read the remaining answers. Okay. So you read the question, and then you answer all the answers, and then select the one that is most suited. Especially for questions like this in which they ask best, describe, most applicable, etc. All right, let's move on to 22. A webmaster is important to a company because he or she is responsible for one of these. Right, so the first option is backs up files and stores the disks at an location, monitors the shutting down of competitors' websites, assign web addresses to all users responsible for the company's website. So out of these four tasks, what is the responsibility, or why is the webmaster important? Right, so the answer that's most suitable, or the answer that describes the job or the responsibility of the webmaster is D, right? The webmaster is responsible for the company's website. Okay, read through the question, the answers, backs up files and stores this at an location. No, that has nothing to do with that job role. Monitors the shutting down of competitors' website. No, I mean, you're not going to be doing that. And assign web addresses to all users in the company. You don't do that. Right, so the answer for that is D. All right, let's move on. 23. any unauthorized person is allowed to view another person's name by merely providing a phone number to a service representative at a telephone company. This is an example of what? Yeah, propaganda, eavesdropping, computer fraud, and violation of privacy. Okay, so propaganda, no, that's not correct. Okay, that's like using, that's like generating or advertising, giving out information, this sort of thing. Eavesdropping, no, that's incorrect. Also, that for example, is listening to a conversation or viewing the email communication between persons. Now you have computer fraud, which is attempting to perform some tasks when you're not exactly doing it, and in a violation of privacy. The most suitable answer for this, to me, is D, a violation of privacy. Okay. Some persons may look at it and maybe fraud might be the case, but they're not pretending or they're not trying to be another person. They're what they're saying is they are allowed to view another person's name by using the phone number. The answer for 23 will be D, violation of privacy. All right, 24. Which of the following checks is not a validation technique? So we come back to validation and verification. All right, so you have the checks and you want to know which one is not a validation technique. So we have first the range check, right? So the question is which is not a validation. So if it's not a validation, then it's what? A verification check, right? So what you want to know is which one of these are verification or is a verification check. Is the range check a validation or a verification check? Anyone? All right, so the range check is a validation technique, right? What about double entry? Is that validation or verification? Right, so double entry is a verification check. So the answer is so far that's the only verification check, right? B. Inconsistency, that is a validation check, and reasonableness is another validation check. So the only verification check in this question is double entry. Remember that validation check does some sort of check of the data entered, or it verifies the data entered is correct. Okay, before it is added to the system. Verification check is after you add the data in to verify that it's the same as the data that was used. So you have the double entry, right? The double entry, you will enter the data. So for example, you may enter your password and then you enter it again to ensure that the two is the same, right? And yes, you need to pay attention to the words in the question. So they said not a validation check. That could have easily been written as which of the following checks is a verification check, right? So it's important to read the question carefully. All right, moving on to number 25. Which of the following is detected by the use of a pressure sensor?
Yeah.
What answer is that?
Yes, sir.
A, motion. Anybody here doing physics?
So I guess then no C also.
Right, okay, so pressure, right? A pressure sensor is used if you want to detect like weight. Okay, so the answer is C. Right?
So what's the answer?
The answer for this is C, weight, pressure sensor. Okay, let's move on to 26. The illegal copying, distribution, or sale of proprietary software is known as what? You have computer fraud, computer theft, software fraud, software piracy. Right, so the illegal copying, distribution, or sale of proprietary software is what? Yes, these are answers coming in chat. And that is referred to as software piracy. Okay. All right, computer fraud or fraud is when you're attempting to be a legitimate operation. It's more, fraud would be used more in terms of like websites. So if you are hosting a website and you say, for example, it's a charitable website and you're raising money to let's say distribute to poor needy families, but in fact you're not doing that. You just have that website, and when persons donate to the website, you're just pocketing that for yourself. So fraud would be in that sense, right? Computer theft is, well, stealing computers, devices, or parts. And piracy would be a copy. Well, the answer to the question there, which is illegal copy and distribution or sale of proprietary software. Okay, so that's the answer for 26. Okay, 27. In an algorithm, item price is a variable used to store the price of a grocery item. The most appropriate data type is what? Okay, this question should be familiar to most of you.
The E.
And the answer is E, real. Okay. All right, let's move on to 28. All right. Which of the following types of documents is used for the initial recording of data related to business transactions?
B, sir. Sir.
Right. Yes. So the answer for 28 is B, right? The source document. What about the primary document? Does that seem familiar to anyone? Where did we encounter primary document? I don't remember doing this or encountering this term in the word processing SBA, right? So in the word processing SBA, we had the primary document. All right. So the answer for 28 is B. Okay, let's move on to 29. Which of the following is a sequential access medium?
So I guess we'll see.
Right, so the answer for 29 is C, the magnetic tape, right? Now, always remember in terms of sequential, you want to think about as the data or the order in which data is stored is the same order in which is accessed. And the best analogy for that to me is those older cassette tapes where it recorded audio, but in order to access the audio, you had to start from the beginning and access it in the order in which it was recorded. Okay, and the answer is the magnetic tape. Okay, which of the following is not an example of commercial data processing? So we have budgeting, we have invoice processing, payroll processing, and forecasting hurricane. And you want to know what is not an example of commercial data processing.
The obvious answer is B.
Right, so for this, I would say the answer is D, forecasting hurricanes. Right, so D, forecasting hurricane. Okay, 31. In computing, word wrap refers to which one of the following descriptions? So you have placing text around a graphic, placing text at the back of a graphic, the automatic carrying forward of text once the current line is filled, the user having to manually place the cursor on the new line when the previous line is filled. Was that on, Satyam?
C.
C, right. So word wrap, and let me see if I can just demonstrate that here for you. All right, so let me see if let me share the screen first. All right, so you should be seeing the notepad, right? The notepad file. Yes?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, good. So let's just say we start typing text, right? And we reach the end of the line in the window. What happens? The text just continues. What word wrapping does, and if we enable word wrapping here, and we start typing, it will automatically detect that this is the end of the line, given the size of the window, and automatically move on to the next line. So taking that or referring, taking consideration the question now, placing text on a graphic, no, that's not what word wrap is. Placing text at the back of the graphic, also not applicable. You have now the automatic carrying forward of text once the current line is filled, and that looks correct. Okay, looks like C, but we always should read all questions, all answers. The user having to manually place the cursor on a new line when the previous line is filled. Now, this statement is correct except for the first part, which is manually place the cursor. Okay, because it's an automatic operation. So after reviewing all, C is the most appropriate answer. Okay, so we have C for 31. 32. Which word processing feature must John use if he wants to include his company's logo in the bottom margin of every page of a document? So for 32, you have header, footer, endnote, footnote. Yes, it's not answer coming in there in the chat. Anyone else? What would you use to put the company's logo in the bottom margin of every page of a document?
Footer.
Right. So the answer for this is a footer, right? And what it is you have to recognize is in the question, first they want to put the company's logo, right, in the bottom margin. So the bottom margin would rule out the header. And then they want it on every page of the document. And the feature that facilitates this is footer, right, which is different from a footnote. Okay, so footer does this. Answer for 32, B. Okay, move on to 33. While typing a document, it may be necessary to change the height of the characters. Which word processing feature is used? For 33. So you want to change the height of the character. What you're going to do? You're going to make adjustments to the letter size, paper size, page size, or font size. All right, what this question is basically asking you is they want to make the characters either bigger or smaller. And when we do this in any one of the word processing programs, we're going to be adjusting the font size. Okay, so the answer for 33 is the font size. All right, 34. When text is aligned with both the left and right margins at the same time, this is called what? So you have left and right and left, justified, or centered. 34. Any answers to 34? Right. So the answer for 34 is C. Okay. Aligning left and right at the same time is also known as justified. Okay. Let's move on to 35. While entering text in a word processing document, Michelle noticed that each new letter entered is replacing the previous one. The mode activated in this case is what? You have type over, word wrap, delete, or insert. All right, any answers for 35? All right, so the answer for 35 is type over. Okay, what that simply means is generally when you have text in a document, you put the cursor before some text and you start typing, it will push, right, the existing text lower down the line. If you have type over activated, it's actually going to well, literally type over or replace the existing text.
So what was 34?
34, let me see that question. 34 was C, justify. Okay, and 35 is A, type over. All right. Okay. All right. 36. A thumbnail image on a web page is used to do what? Right? Represent a smaller version of a larger image, provide a link to other contents, emphasize text and images. Now, first of all, what is a thumbnail image? Right? A thumbnail image is a small, you can say an icon that is generated on a web page. And that icon could be used for a couple of things, right? In some instances, it could be a smaller version of a larger image, right? So you could have like some thumbnail images, and then you click on it to see the image in when it's in a larger format, right? It could also be a link to another to other contents. In that case, it will be a hyperlink. I wouldn't say emphasize text and images is valid, right? So the answer for 36 is C, 1 and 2. All right. So 37. You have typed the characters 3RD. Which of the following formatting features should you use to create R and D? So what they're asking here is, what formatting feature should you use to have the R and the D to the top of the row, right? Or the text there. Which one of these features do you use? Is it for superscript, highlight, subscript, or italics? Anybody?
So D.
Right. So let me just share my screen here. Right. So I'm just going to share something. Right. Okay. So I have a Microsoft document open here. And the first option is superscript, right? So if we select R&D and we use this, which is the superscript icon, we see it in the format in which it's in the question, right? So that's superscript. But let's go through some of the other ones. There's highlight, subscript. So if we select R&D, subscript, and that comes to the bottom of the text. This is used a lot or beneficial a lot when using writing formulas in a chemistry, right? And then the last one is italics, which just puts it on a slant, basically, right? So based on this here, you can confirm that it is subscript. Okay. Now, another way to remember that you have super and sub, right? Sub means normally under or below. So subscript would be any example of it being on the lower side of the line. All right, again, so the answer for 37 is A. Okay, 38. Which of the following types of software should be used for applications that involve repetitive numerical calculation. You have database, spreadsheet, word processing, and operating system as the option. So the key in this is repetitive numeric calculations. All right, and think about all these software. Just reading through them. Okay, no problem. This is the responding to a message in chat. Which question did you miss?
So I miss from 1 to 7.
1 to 7. Okay.
No,
So
1 to 6. 1 to 6.
1 to 6. All right. We will well, two things, right? I normally give the answers up, right? So you'll see that there, and we can always go over that in a little bit, right? Okay.
Right.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. So just going through this, right? So first of all, 3 of these are applications that you all have experience with, right? Database, spreadsheet, and word processing, and the last one is the operating system, which is an example is Windows 10, right? Or Windows operating system. So you were talking about repetitive numeric calculations. You will not use Microsoft Word for that. Okay. A database is used for storing information for querying, and as we did, or in the SBA, you use spreadsheet for calculating. Use formulas to calculate sums, averages, maximum, minimum, things like that. So the most suitable answer for this is spreadsheet B. All right. All right, let's move on to 39. In what form is data stored in a database? What form is data stored in a database? You have 4 options there. You have the table, chart, numeric, and string. Any answers? Any suggestions? If you encounter this question in your exam, what would you put? Yeah, some quick answers coming in. Now, interesting to note, right? So you have table and charts which are like objects, and then you have numeric and string, which is more like data types. So from your experience, in a database, you can store numbers and you can store text, right? So both of them are like data types. So those 2 answers are out. In the database, how did you store your data? What did you put your data in? What did you put the first name, last name, etc. in? If you remember correctly, first you created a table and then added the data to the table, right? We use the chart in which application? In Microsoft Excel, so a spreadsheet. So the answer for this will be E, all right, a table. All right, number 40. In creating a query, a student enter the following criteria in the date field. Greater than or equal to the 5th, 11, 2011, and less than or equal to the 5th, 14, 2011. And you have to output, or the output of that will show which days. The first one is after 14th May 2011 only, between the 11th and 14th May 2011, before 11 and after the 14th of May, and between the 11th and 5th, between the 14th of May and 5th of November. Now, the first thing to note is you have to understand what format is this. Is this the month-year format or month, the year? Now, given that you have the second set of digits is 14 in the second participant, that means that that will be the date. So we're looking at the 11th of May 2011 and the 14th of May 2011. All right? So that's the first step. Secondly, to decide which days will be shown, you're going to see everything that is greater than or equal to the 11th of May. All right? So everything that is after the 11th of May and everything that is before the 14th of May. And where that falls is between the 11th and the 14th of May 2011. All right? Okay. 41. Which of the following must be placed in front of the column, letter, and row to create an absolute reference? So which one of these symbols is placed in front or before the column, letter, and row number to create an absolute reference? Right. So the answer for this is the $sign, which is D. Right. Remember, we use the $sign for absolute referencing. Okay. All right. Let's move on. 42. You need to enter the text weekly report to appear in the middle of the space used by the 5 columns below. Which of the following spreadsheet commands will enable this to be done? Center the text, indent the cells, merge and center, merge the columns. So what will you use to have this text weekly report appear in the middle of the space used by the 5 columns? Okay, so the feature you're going to use is merge and center. All right, so merge and center will accomplish that, which is C. Okay, 43. Which of the following can be used in a spreadsheet to copy the same number across multiple rows in a single column? You have something called the fill handle, you have the cursor, you have the label, and you have the cell. Any suggestions for 43? Okay, so the cell and the label is not applicable, right? I mean, in this question, that's not correct. The cursor, everybody know what the cursor is, right? That's the vertical line that's usually when you're typing text. The fill handle, I'm gonna share my screen. Right, so we have Microsoft Excel here. You also see Microsoft Excel screen here?
Yes, sir.
Right, so you all know this, but just to reiterate, if you take the mouse and you place it to the bottom right, you see the cross there turns into a thinner line and it's black. And if you pull this down, you're achieving what the question asks, right? When it reaches this state, you call that the fill handle. So that is fill handle. All right, let's get back to this. Okay, so the answer 43 is E, fill handle. Okay, 44. In a spreadsheet, the column titles will always be visible when you scroll the spreadsheet if you first do what? Freeze the top row, lock the last column, lock the spreadsheet, freeze the first column. What is the answer for 44? All right, so first off, what they're asking.
So it's A, sir?
Right. So what they're asking is you have a table in your spreadsheet, and the first row of the tables are the columns. Sorry, are the headings, right? So you have like first name, last name, email address, this sort of thing. And then you have the data underneath. Now, if it is you scroll the spreadsheet, you still want to see the column titles. And the feature that enables this is freezing the top row. All right, so the answer is A. All right, let me see if I can demonstrate. All right, let me share this. All right, so I'm going to share an Excel here, right? So this is your table. You know, you have your columns. This is your heading. All right. Now, if you scroll, sorry, the spreadsheet, you see these headings get they move up, right? Now, if we go to data, right? Sorry, we go to view, and we freeze the top row. And if we continue to scroll down, you notice the column titles remain there. Everybody seeing that? Clear? Yes? No?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, clear? Okay, good. Right, so that is what the question is asking, right? They want to know what you have to do to keep the column titles or the first row visible scrolling the sheet. So the answer is A, freeze the top row. All right, 45. Need to minimize this a little bit. Okay, which of the following is the correct sequence of steps to delete a field in a database table? So I'm going to give you all a minute or two to view this and let me know what is the answer for 45. Those who are finished could put the answers in the chat. All right, I see some answers coming in there. Okay, so what do you want to achieve, right? You want to delete a field in a database table. All right, so the first option is choose the delete row option, select the row. Now that that sequence isn't making sense. You should select and then choose delete row. So A seems to be out. B, open the table in design view, select row to be deleted, and right click, choose the delete row option, choose yes to confirm. Okay, that seems to be capturing the steps. Let's still read the other options. C, select the row to be deleted and right click, open the table in design view, choose the row, and choose yes to confirm. Those steps seem to be mixed up because they're asking you to select a row and then open a table. And let's read D. Select the row to be deleted, choose the row to delete, open the table, choose yes to confirm. That sequence seems to be mixed up also, right? So the answer for this is B, okay, which is open the table in design view, select the row to be deleted, right click, choose the row, choose the delete row option and select yes to confirm. I'll just demonstrate that here. So I'm going to share a Microsoft Access document with you, right? And as they mentioned, the first one is open the table in design view. So this is the table. The first thing is the open in design view, right? In design view, you have the field names and the data type. Okay. The next thing they said is select the row to be deleted and right click. Right, so you select the row. So let's say you want to delete package cost. So you select it, right click, and then you have the delete row option, and you see you're prompted, right, if you want to delete the fields or not, and then you select yes to delete it. Right, so that's the steps there to delete. Okay, let's go back to the right. Let's go back to the question. Okay, so the answer for this, as I said, is B. Okay. You're looking at time now. All right. Class, let's go for a 15-minute short break, and then we will continue with the multiple choice when you get back. Okay. Number 46. Consider the following algorithm. A is equal to 7, B is equal to 9, A is equal to B minus A, B is equal to A plus B. Write A and B. Which one of the answers will be output of this algorithm?
B.
B, sir.
All right. So we have A is 7 and B is 9, right? A will now be assigned B minus A, which is 9 minus 7. And the answer for that is 2. So A is now 2. B will be the new value of A, or the current value of A, which is 2, plus B, 9. 2 plus 9 is 11. So the answer is 2 and 11, B. All right, so the answer for 46 is B. Okay, let's move forward. Which of the following flowchart symbols represent a process? All right, so the process, and remember, a process could be like a calculation, right, or assignment. And the symbol that represents the process is A, that rectangle there. A48, program debugging should be performed when? At which stage should program debugging be done? We have during the design phase, during the testing phase, before compiling the program, before identifying any test data. At which point or which stage should program debugging be done? Right. So you generally do debugging when you're testing, right? So the answer would be B, during the testing phase. Okay, 49. In representing algorithms, which of the following statements would be placed in the flowchart box shown below? Would it be A greater than 25, read A, output C, count is assigned to count plus 1? Which one of these will be placed in that flowchart symbol? Okay, so the thing is, this symbol is the same one that was in a previous question. So you have a little hint there, right? And this symbol should have or contain a processing statement. So your question really is, which one of these answers are processing statements? A greater than 25, that's some sort of that's a comparison, a conditional statement. Read A, that's input. Output C, that's an output statement. Count is assigned count plus 1. That is your processing statement. So the answer for 49 is D. All right, number 50. Data that cannot be changed during the execution of a program is called what? Variables, constants, characters, or strings?
B, sir.
Right. So if it is you cannot change data when a program is being executed, that value will be a constant. Okay? So the answer is B. Right, so the answer is B, okay, constant. All right, let's move on to 51. Which of the following tasks does the algorithm below perform? So the algorithm says you want to read A, B. If A is less than B, then print A. So I'll give you all a minute to read through those options and let me know which one of the tasks the algorithm performs. Okay, so what's going on here? We have this algorithm reading two numbers, it seems, right? A and B. Now, if A is less than B, or if the first number is less than the second number, then you print A, or the first number. Okay, now let's read three options. Reads two numbers and prints the first. That is partially correct. It prints the first if a condition is met. That's wrong. Reads two numbers and prints the smaller. Not exactly, because if B is less than A, it doesn't print B. That's also incorrect. Reads two numbers and prints the first number if it's larger than the second number. Let me see. It reads two numbers. It's going to print the first one if it's larger. No, that's not right. So let's look at D. Reads two numbers and prints the first if it is smaller than the second. And that's exactly what it's doing. It's reading two numbers. If the first number, or A, is less than B, it's going to print the first number. Okay, so the answer for 51 is D. All right, 52. The type of programming language in which instructions are written using abbreviated form of words is known as, and we did this at the beginning of class. What's the answer for 52? Anybody remember? Right, so answer came in there. So that is known as assembly language, right? Assembly language. All right, 53, we're discussing valid Pascal types. You should not be getting questions like this in the exam, right? Because this is a Pascal or programming language specific question. What about 54? What type of errors are caused by not following the rules of a particular computer programming language when creating the software? Grammar, runtime, syntax, or logic? What's the answer? 54. Right, so remember, following the rules of the programming language is the syntax. So if you're not following those rules or instructions, an error will be generated, and that error will be referred to as syntax error. Right? Okay, so that's it for 54. All right, in terms of the remaining questions, similar to last week, you will do questions 55 to 60 for homework, right? The only exception would be 59, as that's another Pascal specific question. So your homework would be questions 55 to 60 multiple choice, except 59. Okay, the next thing you want to move to is January. Yeah, is January paper 2, 2016. All right, so I want you all to work this out and tell me what feature should be placed by each item. All right, so for example, okay, let's do item A. Intel Core 2 Duo. So what will be the feature for that specification? Intel Core 2 Duo T7250. Correct, right? So I'm messaging the processor type. What about 2000 megahertz?
So that's the, so you can go down all over the place. That's the processor speed.
Right, so 2000 megahertz is the processor speed. You're not seeing the window. The window has the table and the option.
Oh wait, no, no matter. Yeah, you don't have to matter. Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's move on. 15.4 inches. That refers to what?
That's the display size.
Okay, display size. What about 1280 by 800?
That's the resolution.
right? D is resolution, 120 gigabytes.
That's the drive size.
Okay, that's the size of your hard drive, and 2048 megabytes.
That's the memory type.
2048 megabytes is actually the memory size. Okay, so memory size. What about DDR2 SD RAM?
Just now, sir. Just now. I'm trying to see on the bottom.
All right, so DDR2 SD-RAM, that is the memory type. What about Firewire port, mini PCI port, USB?
That's the available, the available interference.
Right, so that's available interfaces. So that's the interfaces that are on your laptop or computer that could accept connections. And Vista Home Premium 32-bit.
That's the utilities.
Right, actually Vista Home Premium.
No, it's the operating system. That's the operating system, right?
Yes, that will be the operating system, and Roxio Creator will be the only option we didn't use yet, which is the utilities.
Yeah.
Okay, so good. That's first question. Let's move on to the second one. Now, again, the second question will be something that you all will not be assessed on. This is binary to decimal, decimal to binary, conversions or number representation. Moving on to question 3. Now, as I mentioned before, the acronyms are very important, right, to understand and to know what they mean. So, for example, the first acronym, IRC, that stands for Internet Relay Chat. The acronym FTP. Anybody know what FTP is?
File transfer protocol.
Right, so FTP is File Transfer Protocol. HTTP.
Hypertext transfer protocol, I think.
Right, Hypertext Transfer Protocol, HTTP. And then we have HTML. HTML, anyone? Right, HTML is hypertext markup language. Then we have URL. URL is Uniform Resource Locator, and then VoIP.
Video over Internet protocol, I think. Yes, sir.
Right, so VoIP is Voice over Internet Protocol. Okay, so Voice over Internet Protocol. Okay, so that's those acronyms. You would have got 1 mark for each one of them. All right. The next question is to state one similarity and one difference between the internet and intranet. So can someone state a similarity and a difference between the internet and intranet? Right, there's some answers coming in here. So, all right, in terms of similarity, both the intranet and internet would allow users that are connected to it to send messages to other users. And
So
yes,
a difference with the internet there's is with the internet is you can access unlimited information.
yes, that is a difference. Unlimited.
Like yeah.
Yes, unlimited, or in definitely there is or it could be said the other way, right? The intranet, there's a limit to the amount of information you could access. Right?
Yeah.
So that's the difference. Also a difference is the intranet is a private network, and the internet is a public network. That's differences. In terms of similarity, as I was saying, they both allow users connected to it to send messages to other users and use a browser to access information such as web pages. Right, so that's a similarity difference. You will assign 1 mark for each one. Part C to that question is to state 2 differences between a podcast and a blog. So could anyone identify differences between podcast and blog? All right,
So for a blog is for like reading and stuff.
yes, so a blog is more text, right? So general. So first of
Now
all,
podcast is for listening.
yeah, podcast is audio. So the first thing in answering this question, you need to understand the difference between the 2 of them. So a podcast is an audio broadcast using the internet, and it could be played back on a device, right? So an iPhone or iPod or something like that. The blog is a diary maintained by the author on the World Wide Web, and it allows people to comment on the post. Right? So that could be like 2 differences between them. All right. Let's move on to question 4. And question 4 is asking, for each of the following security options, describe 1 threat that it seeks to prevent. And the first one is use of passwords. Okay, so first of all, you need to understand what is a security threat, right? And a security threat attempts to take advantage of a vulnerability or weakness in a system or its data, right? So what sort of vulnerability or weakness would passwords be used to help with? And yes, right, so the answer came in there. So basically unauthorized access, right? And that's to avoid or to prevent someone from accessing your data or data they should not be accessing. Okay, so that's the use of passwords. How about encryption? Right, what sort of threat would encryption seek to prevent? Now, first of all, we discussed encryption briefly before, and encryption is, well, they use the word scrambling or putting the data in a form before sending it that is not easily readable, right? Now, what threat that could be used to prevent is electronic eavesdropping, right? And that is using devices to monitor electronic communication between groups of persons, right? Or persons that communicate together. Now, if you encrypt the data before sending it, then if someone eavesdrops on that conversation, they won't be able to understand. So that would be an answer for encryption. What about the firewall? Right? What would a firewall prevent? Okay, so the firewall, first of all, is a device that restricts or limits connections in like a network, right? It could be a hardware device or a software device. So a firewall could protect from untrusted connections, right? So if you have a firewall at home, it could prevent untrusted connections from the internet into your home network. What about the biometric system? What does that protect against? Right, so a biometric system would protect, is a physical form of protection in the sense that it will protect facilities and equipment. So you could have a biometric system used for locking the door to like your computer room. Okay, and data or the backing up of data. What does that prevent against? And that prevents against files becoming damaged or corrupted or lost. So if you have your, yes, data loss. Yes, so if you have, let's say, a SBA on your computer and you backed it up to a flash drive, and there's something happens to your laptop gets this gets damaged or corrupted, you could always use the documents from your backup, which is in your flash drive, to access the work. Okay, so that's it for this question. All right, let's move on to question 5. And question 5 reads, this automated computerized application interacts with a bank's customer and issues money that the customer is currently withdrawing from an account. Using this banking example, answer the following questions. The first one, identify one example of data that can be entered into this application. So what is an example of data that can be entered into this application? Well, first of all, what is the application we're talking about here? Or what is an application similar to it? Now, they're saying that it is an automated computerized application that interacts with banks, customers, and issues money that the customer currently drawing from their account. So this sounds like an ATM, right? Good, yes. So when using an ATM, what is an example of data that is entered into application? So one student answered the amount of money the user wants to withdraw, and that's correct. So that's one example. Another student says the PIN. Okay, so the PIN of the user. So that's data. What about the device? What is the device used to enter this data? How is this data going to be submitted, or how does the user communicate this data to the ATM machine? You go to an ATM machine, you have to enter your PIN. What do you use to enter your PIN? What do you use to tell the machine how much money you want to withdraw? Right. So one of the ways is it could be used using a keypad, and another answer could be the touchpad. Both of which students are answering here for me on the chat. All right. Now part B. Identify one example of information output. What sort of information is output using this system? Right. So once some information that could be output, or it could be it says information output, right? And the information output could be a bank balance. Okay, so that's the example of the information output. And what is an example of an output device? How does this information get to you? How do you receive this information? If it is you withdrew money from your account, say you had $500 in your account and you withdrew $100, so the remainder is $400. How do you know what that amount is? How does the ATM communicate that to you? Using what device? So one device it uses the printer, right, to print the receipt. Another device could be the monitor or the visual display unit. So any one of those would have been okay. All right, so part C now. Identify and describe the processing that utilizes the data identified in A above and generates the output identified in B above. So what they want, what they're asking here is to describe the processing. Remember when we spoke about algorithms, we spoke about systems, there are 3 stages, right? There's input, processing, output. Input is the data or information you supply or you give to the system. Output is what the system returns to you. And processing is what the system does with the input you supplied to get the output. So what you need to do here is to describe the processing. Can anyone here describe processing? Yeah, I see some answers coming in here. So what you would say, in general, you could say the user would enter the PIN to access the account information, right? They would then instruct the ATM to provide account balance or they would instruct the ATM to withdraw a certain amount of money. The ATM would then verify that the user has that amount of funds available, subtract that from the existing amount of funds available, and then dispense the amount of money the user asks for. Right? So something very important about this particular question, this is 3 marks, so you have to put substantial information in your answer. Okay, list 3 advantages of using an automated information processing system over the corresponding manual one. Okay, and to answer this question, I always say, or this type of question, I always think about a real life situation, and this is specific to the ATM. So you're gonna compare going to an ATM machine to withdraw money to going to the teller in the bank to withdraw money. So what are the advantages of the ATM to the teller, generally speaking? All right, so first of all, the process is faster, right? And going to an ATM machine, you might be able to conduct your transaction. Most probably you're able to conduct your transaction quicker than going to the teller. The other one is using the ATM, that automated information processing system has greater storage capacity, right, than a manual one. And 3, increased efficiency. So those could be 3 advantages of using the automated information processing system over a manual one. Okay, let's move on to question 6. The National Census collects data on persons in a household. The data are collected on a paper-based form and then entered into a database. Data are collected in the following categories: the number of persons in the household, date of birth, educational level, and current employment. First question, describe how a user would confirm that data on the paper-based form are exactly equal to the copy of the data in the database. So how would you answer this question? How is it the user could confirm that the information is the same? We discussed this briefly in multiple choices. All right, how is it they're going to do that? For 2 marks. You're going to have to use one of the verification techniques, right? Like a visual check. Now remember, it's not state, you have to describe. So you could describe after the data is entered, right? You could say it is redisplayed on the screen, and the user is prompted to read it and confirm that the data is entered correctly. So you may be entering number, date of birth, education level, employment. So you enter these 4 fields, and after the user enters it, it's displayed on the screen, waiting for the user to confirm that is correct. So it will be implementing a verification technique such as a visual check, and then describing the process. After the data is entered, it's redisplayed on the screen, the user is prompted to read the data. Now, remember, there are multiple, or there are 2 verification techniques. There's the visual check and there's the double data entry check. So you could have also said that you could use the double data entry verification technique and you have to enter the data twice. Okay, so that's the first one. Second part of the question, explain each of the following as it relates to the census above. So they want you to one range check that could be used to validate any item of data collected. So what is the category of data could be used for a range check, and then explain the check. So what could you use for a range check? You have these 4 fields. Which one could be used for a range check? Which category? Right, yes, date of birth, right? And you have to explain the check. How would you do a range check on this data? Okay, how you do a range check is you would ensure that the month entered is between 1 and 12, right? That's checking your range on the data. Let's move on now to the reasonableness check. So which category of data could you do a reasonableness check on? Anybody? What could we do a reasonableness check on? Yes, some answers coming in there. The number of persons in a household. And explain the check. To explain check, you could simply say, check to ensure that a reasonable number is entered in this field. So for example, maybe, or ensure it's not an unreasonable number. So something like 100 might be unreasonable. All right, the third one data type check that could be used to validate any item of data collected. So you want to do data type check. What would you do data type check on? Which category of data can you do a data type check on? The data type check could actually be done to the number of persons in the household also. And the reason I say that, because remember, a data type check will ensure that data entered is either alphabetic or numeric, right? So either numbers or letters. And out of all the fields, the data type check or one data type could be used for a couple. So for the number of person in your household, you could assume that they only accepted numeric data there, right? Date of birth, that could be a data type check too, numeric data. But then you have the forward slashes or dashes separating the data that could be kind of ambiguous. Educational level could be a combination of text and numbers, and same as employment could be. So the most suitable answer there would be number of persons in the household. And to explain that check, you could ensure that the data that is entered is numeric. All right, so that will be the answer for data type. What about consistency check? Right, what category of data could you do consistency check on? Now, the consistency check could be the educational level. And what you're going to check, or how are you going to check that? You could verify that the educational level is suitable for a person of a certain age. So, for example, if a person is between the age of 15 and 17, they might have CXC qualifications, right? CSEC or CAPE, etc. And that could be a consistency check. All right, let's move on to question 7, right? So question 7 is an Excel spreadsheet. And this spreadsheet template is used to generate students' grades. The first part of the question is write a function for cell D6 that will insert the appropriate grade from cell B2 or B3 based on student marks. So let me know your answer for this question. So for this question, does anybody know the answer? We went through this in one of the classes previously. For this question, we're going to be using a condition in Excel, right? So you're going to write this in cell D6. And the formula would be equals if C6 is greater than or equal to 50, then you put the value here. So $B $2, and then a semicolon $B $3. Right? And basically that's saying if C6 is greater than or equal to 50, you're going to be a P. If not, it will be an F. Okay. Now it's important to understand the formulas and how they come. All right. Now write the formula to find the average mark of the student. So how would you find the average mark of the student? What is the formula you're going to use? Anyone knows the formula for average in Excel? Right, someone put it in the chat there. The formula is equal average. That's spelling the entire word average. And then you open brackets and select from C6 to C10. what is the default alignment for numeric data? So in Excel, when you type numeric data, what's the default alignment? Yes, someone put it in chat there too. Right align. By default, numeric data is right aligned in Microsoft Excel. Okay, let's move on to question 8. Star Cricket Club keeps a file on its players. Some of the information stored on each member is as follows. So they have a table there with data on the members, right? Now, based on this table, state the key that can be used as a primary key. Right. So out of all the data, remember the primary key is or would contain values that are unique. So there should be no data entered in the primary key field that are duplicates, right? The field best suited for that is member ID. The data type used for the date of birth field, what is the data type to be used? All right, so date and time. Right, okay, so someone asked a question, email address. Yes, email address could also be a primary key as there no two email addresses will be the same. Okay, member ID or email address. But if you have a key like a member ID, customer ID, employee ID, that should also be unique to a company. All right. Right. Okay. So the data type would be date time. What about the surname of the member with member ID 003? So for this, we look for member ID 003. We get that record, and then we get the surname. And the surname for that member is Smith. Right. How many members were born before the 19th of October, 1994? All right, so 19th of October, 1994. How many persons were born before then? Okay, so we have the 11th of 11th of March, so that's one. We have the 25th of August, 1995, so not him. Then we have 11th of October, 1991. That person is the criteria. And then we have the 10th of February, 1994. So they made the criteria. So 3. The answer for part 4 is 3 persons. Okay, part B. Write one additional field which will be appropriate for inclusion in the file. So what they're asking is, what other information would be appropriate to capture in this database? Yes, so telephone number would be an appropriate field to have, and also maybe address, right? So their location address. The last part of the question, the criteria to find the member with the name Balu. And the criteria for that will be member surname equals to Balu. All right, so that's it for number 8. All right, let's move on to number 9. All right, so Shani wants to sign up on a social network called Look at Me, where she can post updates and send messages. First part of the question. Shani has to use the help feature to sign up. Explain the purpose of this feature. So what's the purpose of the help feature? Yeah. Yes, so the help feature provides information and instructions to help persons use the social network application, right? And that's generally what it is. You know, all applications you use, or most applications you use have a help feature, Microsoft Word, etc. to help. And what does that do? It provides information on how to use the application, how to use the program, etc. Right? So that's the help feature. Now, let's look at this table here. Shani can earn a flash after 10 updates and 50 messages. Complete the table below to show whether she earns a flash for each of the options below. So the first part of the question, if she has 10 updates and 10 messages, has she earned a flash? Yes or no? No, she has not earned a flash. Okay, the second part, 10 updates and 50 messages. Has she earned a flash for that? Yes or no? Yes, she has earned a flash because it satisfies the criteria, right? What about 50 updates and 10 messages? Will she earn a flash for that? No, right? Because it doesn't fulfill the criteria. And what about 50 updates and 50 messages? Yes, 50 updates and 50 messages, she will earn a flash. And that's because she meets the criteria and actually exceeds it. Okay. All right. Okay. So part C, right? Consider this message. So they put a message on the screen. And then it says, the message mean that trail was nice. State the technical term given to the code for the original message. So code for the original message, right, will be source code. Now this is the thing, right? So it's not the language, it's just the technical name for the code in the original message. So remember, when you have code that you type is called the source code, right? So source code. The second part of the question, state the name of the document that explains how a user can send a message. So this document could be a user guide or a user manual. right? Similar to the help, you definitely have user guides for different applications explaining how to send, how to use it, how to send a message. All right. Now part D. The following format is used for sending a message, right? So it has these criteria here. Each word can only be 3 letters long. Each line must begin with the C. Each line ends with a semicolon. Identify the error in the message below. So what is the error in the message? Right, so for this question, what you need to do is you need to first determine where the error is and then state it, right? So based on the criteria above, the error will be with this word here, that, THAT, right? Because this word is more than 3 letters long, right? You may be tempted to identify the first word, but remember they say each line must begin with these 2 characters. So these 2 characters are not part of the word. So the word here is only 3 letters long. Okay, so the answer for this question is T8 is the word that. Okay. Now, the second part, state the technical term that caused the error in the message. What kind of error was this? Right, so the technical term is a syntax error because it is not following the rules or the format to send the message, right? Remember they said the message, the word has to be 3 letters long, and this is more than 3 letters, so that is a syntax error. All right, so part E of this now. Answer the following questions based on the fragment of code below. So it has some code here. If trails is equal to 30, then flash is flash plus 1, else right line chase a trail. Okay, so what is the type of control structure used in this fragment of code? Anyone can identify the control structure? Now, the control structure is what is used to execute, or what is used to identify how the code flows. And the generic term for this control structure is selection, and it is if then else, right? The if statement or the if then else statement. And that's the control structure that is used. Other type of control structures, what do we have? We have while statements and we have for do, right? So answer for this is the if then else. State the relational operator used in the code. What relational operator is used in the code? Well, the first thing you need to do is you need to know what is that relational operator. And the relational operator is a symbol used to generally compare different variables or different parameters, etc. So the relational operator in this code is the equal sign, right? Because it's saying if trails equals 30, right? This could have been less than, not equal to, greater than, etc. So the relational operator in this code is 30. How does 30 relate or compare to the value in trails? Okay. This one here, the colon equal is the assignment operator, right? So it's assigning a value into a variable. All right. What about part 3? The data type of trails. What is a suitable data type for the value trails? Yes, integer is a suitable data type for trails, right? So that's right. What about, oh, this is an interesting question. The location of the cursor if the statement is written. So if it is, we do a right line, chase a trail, where is the cursor placed after that statement is written? Now remember, what's the difference between right and right line? When you write a statement, the cursor is placed after the text that is written. When you use the code or the keyword right line, the cursor is placed in the second line, right? So the cursor is placed in the line below chase a trail. And lastly, the result when trails has a value of 15. So state the result when trails has a value of 15. Okay, so if trails is 15, right? If trails is trails equal to 30? No. So it's gonna skip this and it's going to right line chase a trail. So the result will be the text chase a trail will be printed. Okay, now what I want to point out about this question, even though this question had some, it was a Pascal specific code, and maybe the these two, part 3 and 4, maybe specific to Pascal, you could be given a question in which this is an algorithm and you have to answer the question, right? So that's why I did this. All right, question 10 is a question on arrays, and that is something you all will not be evaluated on, or should not be evaluated on. The next question is question 11. So in question 11, there's a flow chart, and they're asking to state 2 errors in each of the following diagrams, right? So 2 errors in this diagram, and then 2 errors in this diagram. So you have to review the diagrams or the flow charts, basically. Review the flow charts and identify 2 errors in them. Okay, then you have to write the name of the process that locates and fixes errors. You may answer the question. Then there is question 12, which is a Pascal specific question. So this one will be applicable to you. So what I want you all to do is do question 11 for homework. So for homework, you have to do questions 55 to 60 in a multiple choice. right? And then question 11 in the paper 2. Okay, so the multiple choice is on the Google Drive,